Good morning, Peter. Welcome to another engaging and interesting fireside chat. And thank you for...
Good morning. Yeah, thank you for having me.
So Peter Lees is the head of solution architecture in Asia Pacific, more than 3 decades plus of experience in technology.
I look after our technology team at SUSE in the Asia Pacific region. As you may be able to tell from my voice, I'm based in Australia, but I have a team that spans Asia, Japan, China, India, and Southeast Asia as well. So very large territory that I have to cover, but I always like visiting India. It's a great country, and I'm looking forward to coming there in a few days' time.
What are containers exactly, and why can they be important to the financial services industry?
As you mentioned, containers, or the idea of containers, has been around for a long time. Basically what it is a way of packaging an application, the business application that you care about, along with just the components that are necessary to run that application, the libraries and the other features that are needed to make that application work. And because it's so small, this small packaging, it's a lot more lightweight than, for example, a virtual machine or a physical machine. So the benefit of containers is that it lets you break up your application into smaller pieces, what we call microservices. This is an idea that's also been around for a while, but was really looking for a place to run. And the Linux containers that we've started to see over the last few years give a fantastic platform for deploying applications as microservices. Now, why is this important in banking? Well, microservices let you adjust and adapt and incrementally improve your applications without having to wait for a major release. A lot of organizations in the past, when they've been developing software, have had to wait weeks, months, or years to get new features into place. And as we know, in a digital economy, every business idea needs to be represented in a digital form. Now, if you're able to deploy your digital ideas as these microservices, incrementally improving your applications, then you can get your ideas to market much faster. So this combination of speed and agility, the ability to also scale applications very, very easily using these container technologies makes them a very attractive place for people to target for their applications these days. And that's why they're important to banking and, frankly, pretty much every other industry that we're seeing today.
But banking is highly regulated, right? So how do we introduce containers there? Because the regulator is always suspicious of any technology.
Yes, absolutely. Well, first, as I said, the concept of the technology has been around for a while now. So the benefit of that is that with enterprise organizations, enterprise vendors like SUSE, we're able to provide the robust support and enterprise-grade quality that is demanded by regulators and by customers, in fact. So the real benefit of using containers is, as I said, you can bring your applications to market faster, but they're also smaller chunks to have to manage and contain. The challenge, of course, is that modern application methods of modern building of applications isn't about creating a new empty page and starting to write code. It's about bringing in lots of components from different parts of the ecosystem and building them and plugging them together to do the features that you want, to do the actual application that you want to put together. The challenge there is to make sure that the code that you are assembling is secure, is auditable, and has all of the other features that regulators and businesses require. And that's where an enterprise-grade container environment is extremely important, so that you can be sure that the underlying software that is controlling all of this is audited, is secure, has a supportability path, has an auditable trail for any support activities that happen, and that there is also a source of trusted components that you can use to build your applications. And that's what we do.
containers appear to be complex. Can they be deployed and managed easily? Or do we need a rocket scientist to do that?
Well, the answer is yes and no, as is often the case. So as I mentioned, one of the values of using containers is it lets you build your applications using microservices. And the way this works is that you actually have lots and lots of tiny little applications that are all communicating with each other. That's the microservices. This has the benefit, as I said, that you can change functionality of a little part of your application without having to wait for the whole system to be updated. But it does introduce the complexity of all of these components need to coordinate with each other in order to operate successfully. Now, in order to get across this complexity, a management tool called Kubernetes was introduced. Now, Kubernetes is basically a scheduling and management system for these containers. An application these days may comprise dozens or even hundreds of individual containers all doing their thing. What Kubernetes does is it coordinates all of these containers, makes sure that they're all running in the right way, make sure that you have enough of these containers to reach the scale that you need, and to make sure that they're operating and interoperating with each other. This is actually quite a complex system, and trying to set up Kubernetes by itself, by hand, can be quite a complex task. And we also find that many of our customers use not just one cluster, Kubernetes cluster, but they actually have a separate cluster for each application. So you may have a trading application that's running on one cluster, and then you have a customer service application that's running on a different cluster, and so on. And then, of course, you want to have different environments. You want to have a test environment, a development environment, a pre-prod environment, and a prod environment. Very, very quickly, customers find that they have not only many containers that they have to manage, but also many Kubernetes clusters that they have to manage as well. So we identified this problem, this challenge that our customers were seeing, and that's why we introduced Rancher, which is a tool for managing multiple clusters of Kubernetes across multiple platforms in the cloud, on-premise. Doesn't matter where it's running, you can manage them all from a single pane of glass with a single set of interfaces for your security systems, your identity management, your policies, and so on. So to reiterate the answer to your question, yes, it can get very complex very, very easily. But the good news is that there are tools available to make that complexity reduced down to something that's simple to operate, streamlined, and doesn't need a rocket scientist to run.
Excellent. So your Rancher is something like Zubin Mehta, right? Who gets a complex orchestra look very simple and make awesome music, right?
Absolutely.
How secure are the containers? Because they're floating all over the place, right?
Well, yeah, this is the challenge. So security is critical for every industry, but obviously for banking, finance, and insurance is extremely critical. And there are lots of aspects to that security. So as I mentioned before, are you getting secure audited code as the baseline for what it is that you're running? Do you have checks and balances within the development system, within your what we call the CI/CD pipeline? The continuous integration, continuous deployment pipeline. Do you have the checks and balances in there to make sure that the applications that you are developing are secure and are doing the right thing? And then lastly, and even more challengingly, when a system is running, are you sure that it is doing the right thing and that you are not being subjected to what we call zero-day attacks, that is, bugs that have been exploited that haven't been revealed yet? Is your application doing the right thing? So there's lots of aspects to this security challenge. Now, the good news with containers is that because we have these small incremental components, each individual component is relatively easy to audit from a development point of view. So rather than one large, gigantic, monolithic application, which may be operating with all kinds of strange interactions internally, you can more easily audit the code that's happening inside these microservices just because there's less of it, and the interfaces are much better defined. But in terms of, are you getting auditable source to start with, auditable base containers in order to run your environment, and can you monitor your environment? These are all challenges that have to be overcome with certain tools. The good news, of course, is that we also have a great tool called NuVector, which can help you along every single step of this pipeline and provide the reporting back that you need in order to satisfy auditors that you're doing the right thing and the application is operating the way you intend.
Excellent. It's really secure. Okay, so we trust you on this.
You can see what's happening in real time. That's the great thing. We can actually look at the application, see all of the transactions that are happening inside the application, look at the network flows that are happening inside there, and in real time, if necessary, block those flows in case they're not doing the right thing. And that can be done automatically according to policies that you develop through the development process. We run the application, observe it running correctly, and then once we see that application is running correctly, that is the defined list of operations it's allowed to do. The application tries to do something outside of that, we stop it.
So that's awesome. In real time, we can stop it.
In real time, you could stop it. Rather than, in many cases, you see some security tools that will report back, hey, something bad happened. What we do is we see something bad is happening and we stop it from even taking place. A highlight, because it's really interesting to me, is a bank called ABSA, ABSA. It's the second largest bank in Africa, based in South Africa, and an organization which has strongly embraced the digital revolution and making very bold steps towards modernizing their entire environment, from their core banking to their services, their ATM network. Everything is being modernized. And they went down sort of a more traditional path to start with this digital transformation, but quickly found that was actually very expensive for them, and was eating up a lot of manpower to maintain. They knew that containers was the way to go because they could get the advantage of that fast time to market, those microservices to help them build new applications and new functionality very quickly. But they needed that control plane that I was talking about, we were talking about before. They implemented Rancher with their control plane for their ATM network controllers and also for a lot of the other applications inside the bank. And they found a 75% reduction in their overhead for managing their environment straight away, an 80% reduction in management time. So all of the processes that they used to have in place to make sure that things were running correctly, they were able to drop that significantly, which in turn meant that they could get their services to market a lot faster. And then on top of that, they reduced their outages by 80%. The automation tools and the policy-based methodology that they can use with Rancher and that container ecosystem meant that they were able to reduce human error and also reduce the overhead and the time taken to actually do the management that they need to do. So that was a great result for them, and as a result, they're a big customer success for us. Now they're running multiple clouds on multiple cloud service providers, their internal environments as well, and they can do this all from a single pane of glass.
Excellent. ABSA is a very big bank for those who are not aware. I remember them. They were part of my panel in South Africa, in Johannesburg, many, many years ago, maybe a decade ago, early days of cloud adoption in South Africa. It's very interesting as a country. Sorry, this is aside the question and answer question.
Yeah.
From a perspective, South Africa has been the biggest adopter of cloud computing in the region. Okay. And they did it very fast because they had to scale up, they had challenges, and they didn't want to build the infrastructure. It's a very interesting, the ABSA Bank story. And I'm sure some of our Banking Frontier listeners here need to read this about ABSA Bank. And more importantly, the adoption of cloud computing in South Africa, which actually magnitude is much bigger than what has happened in India, because our regulators have been very, very shy of the cloud. They've hardly allowed us to date the cloud. Of course, things are changing here too. And I'm glad Peter is coming in next week at the Finnoviti conference and the awards ceremony, and you can meet him in person there, learn from him, and please visit our Banking Frontier website if you want to know Finnoviti, what we are going to do in June 19th. And I'm sure all of you should attend Peter's pitch because I think containers are very, very nascent stage in India at this point of time. And I'm glad Peter's taking time to come and share with us the benefits of using SUSE containers, their tools like ranchers, their security like Vector, etc.
I'm very much looking forward to returning to India after far too long away. And I'm looking forward to the opportunity of meeting as many of you viewing this as possible. Any questions that you have for me or the rest of the team that will be there able to talk to you about your particular situation and how we can help.
Thank you for your time, Peter. Thank you, Banking Frontiers, for this fireside chat. So I think we are done for today. Look forward to you all at the event on June 19th.
Thank you very much.